All right, well, let's go ahead and get into verses 8 and 9 now. All right, so verse 8 says, "But even if we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed." Okay, so Paul is kind of just jumping straight to an extreme here in his explanation. I say that it's basically an extreme because I mean, Paul's like using an example of like, guys, I mean, even if an angel from heaven, and so here's what you kind of need to understand when he's talking about an angel from heaven. Okay, so he's not really talking that an angel has appeared and is teaching this new gospel. That's not the case. So we're not talking about angels from heaven. We're not really talking about fallen angels or demons. That's not in essence where this gospel is coming from. But his point is, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the holiest creature. It could be an angel from heaven. If anybody, even if it's an angel from heaven, even if they show up and they try to teach you something different than what I've taught you, then what they're doing is they are changing the gospel that I've taught. And we're going to get into it later on. You'll get to see further into Galatians. Paul just continuously kind of come back to sort of this idea of changing the gospel, and the whole reason it's such a big ordeal is because, as Paul will later on explain, as we'll get into further into Galatians, is that he has given them the gospel in full. Everything that he has been taught, he has taught. He hasn't held anything back. He's not holding on to any kind of hidden truths or hidden secrets. There is absolutely nothing that he has not taught them. So that's why he's so adamant in telling them that, look, if anybody shows up and starts teaching you something and taking what I said and either adding to it or taking what I said and then taking away from it, or they're just teaching you some random thing, if they're doing that, then what they're doing is they're teaching you a completely different gospel, and I've already taught it to you. So the other thing to kind of note here is by Paul just sitting there saying, then what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. I mean, Paul, again, he's not holding any punches back. I mean, he is just kind of letting them, the people know, but at the same time, he knows that this is going to, fall into the people who are teaching this different gospel. They're going to hear this as well. And so now for them to kind of sit there and to be cursed by Paul, that would kind of make them stand up on edge a little bit and at least pay attention. And so that's kind of what you have to take away from verse 8. But then verse 9 is kind of funny because that's what verse 8 says. Verse 9 says, "As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed." So he just gets done in verse 8, and it's almost like Paul just is in a fit of anger, and he's writing verse 9, and he's like, you know what, just for good measure, I'm basically going to repeat everything I just said in the previous verse so that these jokers know I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. I said it before, I'll say it again. If anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed. Now, the reason this is so important, like I was saying before, is we're going to end up seeing Paul basically go back and sort of explain the gospel in its entirety again. And this is where, Paul will basically tell this entire, region of churches where this new gospel and this new teaching is coming in that, guys, it doesn't matter where these other teachings are coming from. Whoever's teaching it to you, it's false. And the reason it's false is because I've already taught you everything you need to know. I've already taught you everything. And again, I made mention before in the last videos in regards to this is very similar to what John did in his letter of First John, is just sort of correcting this new type of gospel that's being being taught these teachers that are coming in and just teaching something that's completely different than what it is that Paul had already taught. So that is going to be verses 8 and 9. So thanks for watching this, guys, and we will see you next time.